What's up, y'all? Another Sabbath day Torah reading, Genesis 45. If you guys remember, Joseph is a type and shadow of Jesus. And the 7-year famine is a type and shadow of 7-year tribulation. Now let's get into this. Then Joseph could not control himself before all those who stood by him. And he cried, "Have everyone go out from me." So there was no man with him when Joseph made himself known to his brothers. Now, Ezekiel 38 describes the appearance / presence of Yeshua, of Jesus, when he comes to defend Israel, the land of Israel, personally. And it says, and God says, "I will make myself known to all nations." So there was no man with him when Joseph made himself known to his brothers. He wept so loudly that the Egyptians heard it, and the household of Pharaoh heard of it. Now Pharaoh is the type and shadow of God the Father. Then Joseph said to his brothers, "I am Joseph. Is my father still alive?" But his brothers could not answer him, for they were dismayed at his presence. Just like Judah, which is modern day Israel, are going to be dismayed at the presence of Yeshua, at the presence of Jesus, when he comes on the clouds and shakes the whole world. That's when the great earthquake happens, hailstones and coals of fire. That's when all hell breaks loose on earth. At the presence. That's before the second coming, the separate event. That's when the rapture and resurrection happens. Then Joseph said to his brothers, "Please come closer to me." And they came closer, and he said, "I am your brother Joseph, whom you sold into Egypt. Now do not be grieved or angry with yourselves, because you sold me here. For God has sent me before you to preserve life." They sold Joseph into Egypt. They were going to kill him. Jesus was killed. He was sold out by the Jews, his brothers. But he was sent before them to preserve life, just like Jesus was sent to earth to preserve life. And at his presence, he's being sent to preserve their life, because most of Israel, modern day Israel, is going to be destroyed. But he's going to come back personally on the clouds to defend them. Now do not be grieved or angry with yourselves because you sold me here, for God sent me before you to preserve life. For the famine has been in the land these 2 years, and there are still 5 years in which there will be neither plowing nor harvesting. Now, like I mentioned in the beginning, the 7 years of famine represents the 7-year tribulation. I just find it interesting that it's 2 years in when this happens. Still 5 years where there will be neither plowing nor harvesting. And harvesting represents the rapture, resurrection, that type of event. So basically, once you're in the tribulation, At least past that point, past the presence, you're in it for the duration, from my understanding. God sent me before you to preserve you a remnant in the earth, and to keep you alive by a great deliverance. Just like Jesus. He's coming to preserve the remnant, to save the remnant. Not every single believer, I don't think, is going to be saved out of this time, but a remnant. By a great deliverance. Now therefore, it was not you who sent me here, but God. God the Father. And he has made me a father to Pharaoh, and lord over all his household, and ruler over all the land of Egypt. Now Pharaoh represents God the Father, his household, and his servants would be angels. His house, the household, heaven. And Egypt represents the world. God the Father gave Jesus, Yeshua, all power, all authority in heaven and on earth. Now let me read this again. Made me a father to Pharaoh, and lord over all his household, heaven, and ruler over all the land of Egypt, representing the earth. Hurry and go up to my father, and say to him, thus says your son Joseph, God has made me lord of all Egypt. Come down to me. Do not delay. And I just find that interesting. Come down to me. Like in perspective of the end times, Revelation, come down to me. And do not delay. I believe it's in Revelation. It speaks after a certain point. It says, there will be no more delay. You shall live in the land of Goshen, and you shall be near me, you and your children, and your children's children, and your flocks, and your herds, and all that you have. There I also will provide for you, for there is still 5 years of famine to come, and you and your household, and all that you have would be impoverished. Behold, your eyes see, and the eyes of my brother Benjamin see, that it is my mouth which is speaking to you. Now you must tell my father of all my splendor in Egypt, and all that you have seen, and you must hurry and bring my father down here. See, God the Father is going to eventually come down and dwell here on earth with us, once all sin and death is done away with. Then he fell on his brother Benjamin's neck and wept, and Benjamin wept on his neck. He kissed all his brothers and wept on them, and afterwards his brothers talked with him. Now when the news was heard in Pharaoh's house that Joseph's brothers had come, it pleased Pharaoh and his servants, representing God the Father and the angels. Then Pharaoh said to Joseph, say to your brothers, do this, load your beasts and go to the land of Canaan, and take your father and your households and come to me, and I will give you the best of the land of Egypt, and you will eat the fat of the land. Now you are ordered, do this, take wagons from the land of Egypt, for your little ones and for your wives, and bring your father and come. Do not concern yourself with your goods, for the best of all the land of Egypt is yours. Then the sons of Israel did so, and Joseph gave them wagons according to the command of Pharaoh, and gave them provisions for the journey. To each of them he gave changes of garments. Wow, this just hit me. Changes of garments, representing our new bodies, our eternal bodies that can't die, that we're going to receive after the resurrection, rapture. To each of them he gave changes of garments. But to Benjamin, who also represents modern day Israel, modern day Israel is mainly the tribe of Judah and the tribe of Benjamin. But to Benjamin, he gave 300 pieces of silver and 5 changes of garments. To his father he sent as follows: 10 donkeys loaded with the best things of Egypt, and 10 female donkeys loaded with grain and bread and sustenance for his father on the journey. So he sent his brothers away, and as they departed, he said to them, "Do not quarrel on the journey." Then they went up from Egypt, and came to the land of Canaan to their father Jacob. They told him, saying, "Joseph is still alive, and indeed he is ruler over all the land of Egypt." But he was stunned, for he did not believe them. When they told him all the words of Joseph that he had spoken to them, and when he saw the wagons that Joseph had sent to carry him, the spirit of their father Jacob revived. Then Jacob said, "It is enough. My son Joseph is still alive. I will go and see him before I die." That's the end of Genesis 45. May God bless you guys.